Welcome to Techies Talks. Today we are going to discuss AI in cybersecurity in the context of the banking and financial services industry. And we are doing this in partnership with cybersecurity company SentinelOne and cloud computing giant AWS. Now, sometimes I think almost every discussion in tech now begins and ends with AI. But that's how powerful the technology is becoming, or maybe already become. On the one hand, AI is enabling cyber criminals to acquire powers that they could not imagine even a few years ago. And banks would likely be one of the biggest targets given that they hold most of our money. And AI itself is allowing banks to defend themselves in far more effective ways than previously. What are the AI-led threats? What are the best AI-led defense mechanisms? To discuss this, we have 5 really distinguished practitioners. To my left here is Neeraj Naidu. Neeraj is Chief Information Security Officer at Kotak Mahindra Bank. We have Satyavathi Divadari. Satya is a seasoned cybersecurity and technology transformation leader. She's Deputy Chief Information Security Officer at Freshworks. There's Diwakar Dayal. Diwakar is Managing Director and Area Vice President for India and SAARC at SentinelOne. We have Babitha next. Babitha BP is the Deputy Chief Information Security Officer at State Bank of India. And we have Vijay Rajagopal. Vijay is the country head for BFSI and FinTech go-to-market at Amazon Web Services. I was looking at some of their profiles. It's unbelievable the kind of experiences they've had. Satya even has patents, I'm told. What patents, Satya?
I have one in identity access management related to AI, really. It's about the bots, how to identify bots versus human. Okay. Long back, anyway.
Okay. Babitha was with RBI before this in the RBI Information Technology Division in the audit side, right? And you should see the LinkedIn profiles of Neeraj, Diwakar, Vijay, phenomenal. Vijay was leading Amazon Pay before this, I think. Yeah,
yes, that's right.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. So, and I'm Sujit John. I'll be moderating this discussion. And first question, simple, but yet I'm sure there's a lot to say on this. How are cyber criminals using AI today? We get the sense that it's really given them powers. And Diwakar, Satya, Vijay, why don't you start off, Diwakar?
Yeah, the reality is, when it comes to adversaries, right, like criminals, they're always, I guess, without any guardrails, which basically means they are faster, quicker, more agile in adopting any new technology. And if you look at the way adopted internet, the way they adopted cloud, and today the way they have adopted AI is certainly faster than any of us, right? So the defenders have always been, I think, one step behind in terms of embracing this new tech. Clearly, they are using the power of AI, which is the speed, the scale, precision, in a way that is unprecedented in this industry. And of course, that makes job tougher for the defenders here. But I guess that's where the balance today the industry is looking for in terms of how do we compete against cyber criminals and adversaries who need to be defeated in their own terms and conditions, right? So that's really I think an introduction thought here, but I would love to have a conversation and understand how each of us are and where we are in our journeys in the way we kind of fight these adversaries.
Satya, you want to give some examples of the kind of things these guys do?
Yeah, so just to, I think, acknowledge what Diwakar said before going to the examples, as we seen in the traditional world, the thieves, the chore, are of a good community, actually. They collaborate well, they work well together, they'll share their own practices, and that's how they grow, actually. They're very fast in adapting any new technology. They have to take it to the next level, right? So take that as an example, how our cyber attackers are much faster in adapting technology. I think that is there from way long, right? So today, coming to the examples, with that as a collaboration speed, what I'm seeing, they get the best out of the cloud, they get the best out of the AI, they get the best of the people because they don't take breaks. lunch breaks.
They don't take breaks.
They don't take lunch breaks. They don't have anything else except for hit them anywhere, any cost. But we have to be always right in every type of attacks coming towards us. Whereas they have to be right at just one time. I think that's the common problem which we see. Examples like phishing, right? You find it's very difficult to identify whether it is a real CEO talking or it's a fraud. Video fraud is quite common with AI, right? And voice fraud is common. And what to believe, what not to believe, right? I think that's one major
Phishing
case.
mails and all must be
phishing
really
mails, phishing videos.
They look
Yes,
and sound a lot
yes.
more credible than they used to previously.
And news, fake news. Sorry that you are a news company yourself, but there's a lot of fake news is available, a lot of fake videos available, all through AI. And I'm speaking general scenario, but for cybersecurity professionals, it's very difficult to identify the threats which are looking genuine. Alerts. Yeah, that's the example I can quote.
Vijay?
Yeah, no, completely agree. In fact, what has happened is AI has made it faster, cheaper, and easier. Essentially, it's removed the friction for these cyber frauds. I think that's really the biggest change that has happened, essentially causing them to move faster. Like we have had our customer CFOs close to quarter-end results telling us about mails that they receive, phishing mails that they receive. We have instances, where, for some of our customers, vendor payment changes are requested, right? And they seem very real because earlier you could detect phishing mails because there would be grammar mistakes, right? And you could spot. Now the mails are ChatGPT generated. The mails are clean.
Even our reporters are writing very good reports now.
So you cannot make out, right? And the voice quality has become so much better. So people are able to listen to 30-second earnings calls, listen to the voice of a CEO or a CFO or any CXO, mimic it, right? So which is mimic it, right? So which means that when calls come, and still, we rely a lot in terms of voice calls and things to move, right? Like so when calls like that come, people, it puts them in a spot, and that's how fast things are moving.
And I think it was yesterday when we were having this pre-discussion, who was it? Babitha, somebody's mentioned that you could have, your manager could probably tell you, it's a fake manager's voice, but your manager's voice ultimately saying, look, I've approved it, make the payment or something like that, is it?
Yeah, definitely. The thing is always technology is two-sided sword. Okay, how we are using it is what matters. And here, if it is using for good, it is good. If it is not used for the other side, it is what. So when it is coming to the cyber attack phase, phishing mail, the main thing is earlier we used to see for the spelling mistake, I agree. Now it is not like the style of writing the mails. The way I write, I have a style of writing the mail. When RBI writes or regulators write, they have a style. Ministry level, they write, they have a style. So that is where the cyber attackers are using their capabilities to imbibe these kind of the styles with which they are writing the mails. That makes it more credible. Okay, which make that, okay, this is a kind of a mail which we are expecting from a ministry level or it from a regulator level or from internal also. The way I write the mail might be the same, the way I am approving to something or asking for something. That is what is painful to identify who has actually sent this. So, and for that, definitely awareness, nothing else. Even we are having an AI solution in our house. Only thing what we can see that for CXO levels and all, we are putting some guardrails where we can say these are the kind of mail IDs from where we can expect those the kind of people's mail. Other than that, if it is really coming from outside, how we will do that?
Yeah, Babitha will come to more of that a little later. But before that, also I was wondering, is it possible to, AI bot, you insert it into the internal IT system and then it acts at a particular point that you want it to? Is that kind of an AI also possible? Are there anything, Diwakar, have you heard of it?
You are saying agentic AI approving it?
I'm just wondering. I'm just thinking
aloud. Yeah. So there are products, right? I think there are products for automation, for everything. Again, why automation? If something can be automated, you can save money. Obviously, every organization is looking for agentic AI. So agentic AI, when it starts deciding, right, there are problems, right? Imagine a scenario where insurance is being going under agentic AI. What might happen, right? It might take based on the age, color, There are chances. Bias is possible. But that's where I think the discussions are going on with various leaders about how can we keep it human-centric.
Okay.
While the insights are coming from
to the solutions
agentic.
later.
Yeah, agentic AI is okay as long as it's doing insights, but not the decision. That's what I want to
See,
hold on
with the emergence of AI technology, organizations are using AI for decision making. There is where we have to be a little bit skeptic. Like for loan origination, there will be a lot of requests coming to the bank for the loan, and to process that, it takes humongous time. To improve the customer experience and the capabilities or introducing of new products to the customers, what we are our industry is using, like AI is used to select the customers, like whom this loan can, because they will be asking for multiple documents, and this will be uploaded online by the customers, whether this is a fake document or not. Okay, that is where the right power of AI comes.
Okay.
And the AI itself will decide that, okay, this person is capable of this up to this limit. This can be given to that, and AI is making a decision for giving the loan to that particular person. So there are chances like there would be a bias
Okay.
without our
Okay,
knowledge.
we'll come to some of this. Yeah, Neeraj, you wanted to say?
Yes, Sujit, I just want to sum up, I think everybody's told a lot, and how deep this whole impact in terms of the AI coupling up with a hacker is impacting our lives. A Chinese hacker in the previous world or in the previous times would write a mail in Chinese, right? And then he would send it as a phishing mail to his own community. But right now, he's 10x amplified. He has the capability to write mails in 25 different languages, or maybe use English in a very sophisticated way to send out the phishing note to so many people and then compromise. And it's not just the quality, it is the scale. The scale at which they are able to operate today, unlike the previous times where they had a very specific geography, they can operate at scale across. The pace, right? You would spend time to really draft and create and orchestrate and create this whole phishing system. But today it's like, it's that quick. So a hacker is 10x amplified today, unlike the previous times. That is A. When I was yesterday talking to my team, and I'm talking like, today I'm going to be here, guys, I will be on D&D for a couple of hours. And then, and I told them about AI and fake AI and stuff like that. And a guy comes and shows me, you know what, are you showing something? He sent me a video, a deep fake of myself, picked up a LinkedIn photograph. And then I was speaking something about my bank and the security. And I was like, say a 25-second clip. I was not able to, oh God, it's so real. It is happening right now, right? So the fact is that the problem is pretty big. And yes, I echo everybody's thought. It's like, it's right now here, and we need to move fast in order to address these issues. But yeah, it's thousands of examples and thousands of issues across everywhere. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, serious threats emerging. Give us an idea. I mean, this is going to be the major part of our discussion today. What are the kind of solutions that banks, enterprises can adopt to kind of deal with these kind of threats? Neeraj, you want to start?
Yeah. So, and there's no silver bullet, right, to this. Of course, there are varied set of solutions and all, but internally for the security folks and the teams right now, AI is pace and coverage, right? I mean, you can naturally use it to assist. I am sure why Microsoft used co-pilot as the word, not autopilot, right? Because you want to take assistance of AI to help you do things, but ultimately the accountability and the responsibility rests with the individual in terms of doing and executing things. So for example, I've seen AI doing a lot of behavior anomalies, right? You have tons of data and you want to do analysis. You will take days and weeks to do that, but then with AI, you are able to hit that very close and fast. You are able to do threat hunting in a bigger way, in a better way. And you're able to cut down the noise and get to the signals because there's a lot of stuff happening around. So AI from a security operations perspective, there are far many use cases that are possible today and people start using. Personally, I feel that everybody should, if you look at your day's work, it's not just about security, it's about anything and everything that we do. If you're probably AI assisted today, you're far better than everybody else. Yeah. That's the truth of life. And I'm sure many of us are already using subscriptions of all the top AI models here right now. And we're using it day in, day out. And that's the reality, right? You can't get away from that. From an organization perspective, the guardrails, using technology with the required guardrails is what we recommending within every organization. I'm sure my fellow peers would also be saying that. But yeah, AI is absolutely there and being used across every area, in every function, in a limited and capacited way, wherein you leave the decision making to the individuals, but let the noise being carried and done by the AI.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Vijay.
on that piece, right, like echo what Neeraj is saying. See, I think if you take a step back, essentially what is happening, the attackers are using machine learning, AI, and moving super fast. Whereas, on the enterprise side, we are still tied down by legacy systems, manual approval processes, right? Like, so if we choose to continue the same way where we say, okay, every step still needs a manual approval, we stand no chance. So what is the way out, right? Like, so it has to get to a way where, let's say you have the routine boring threats, that has to be 80-90% done automatically. Like the response has to be automatic. Where you escalate it to for human judgment, etc., where it's regulatorily important, there is a high impact, it's irreversible, right? I think those tenets have to come, right? And those tenets is what helps address these challenges at the core. I'll give an example, right? Identity fraud. One of the most important frauds which keep happening, and that's the most used, because identity, and especially in a BFSI context, if your identity is compromised, payments happen within seconds, right? Like, so identity, so gone are the days when you would completely allow access for sessions uninterrupted. It's very important to continuously validate, saying, okay, is the credential still valid? Right, like that's where solutions are getting to.
It's possible. I mean, you are in Amazon Pay, so these kind of things you saw.
Yeah. We would see it day in and day out. So yes. Yes.
So what, you find newer things to check and all the credentials?
Yeah. So what you do is there are multiple attributes, right? You don't rely only on one attribute. You rely on multiple attributes. You rely on what is changing from historical patterns, like other signals that are getting picked up in terms of fraudulent behavior, are transactions happening at inordinate times. Right? Like there are multiple attributes that you can pick up and address it.
Okay. Babitha?
Yeah, this is called a risk-based payment methodologies, where we rate the risk of the person who is using this thing. Like, for example, I'm a kind of a person who normally do the transaction only in India, and suddenly I'm doing a transaction abroad. So immediately that is the fraud risk monitoring system is there in the bank, which is truly where the AI really works for.
It was there earlier also, before I started.
It was
hearing
there,
about-
but it was more of a rule-based. Okay. Now it is AI-based. AI-based means like understanding the patterns by itself, learning the patterns by itself and taking a decision. Then it can, that is why you might be getting automated calls from the IVR systems, like whether this transaction is done by you. You don't get for all the transactions which you have done. Why? It's only for some kind of a transaction which is other from the normal pattern you are getting. So it is where this kind of AI technology is working, which really helps.
AI from at scale can figure out
Yes,
normal patterns
yes,
for
yes,
millions of
yes.
customers.
And that too, integrating it with IVR systems. It is not the human who is making the call. Okay, so that is the level of technological growth which has happened in the financial industry. So, and it will definitely help us in reducing the fraud, preventing the fraud to happen. So that is what is up to, and we are working more on fine tuning because AI means learning and the quality of the data which is fed to the learning. So another point which here other than this transactional things also, now internal threat is also very important. Okay, we are giving supply chain and all those, we are dealing with multiple parties, not only our own employees, even within our employees also there are chances. So we are living in the world of zero trust. It is applicable to everything. So zero trust means don't trust, but banking business is based on the trust of customers. To build the customer trust, we have to not trust everyone. So that is the policy we are following. And for that, internal pattern of a behavioral of a employee, that is also very important. So there comes the user behavior analysis. AI comes into the picture. Putting the guardrails for that, how we are doing that. Then the second thing, like main area where AI can be used is for customer grievance. Lot of complaints might be coming, especially in regulatory and ministry or bank and also. So a person reading through all the mails or the hard copies which has been sent is really very difficult. But we have to do that. AI can be used for that. But where, like the challenge comes, the PI data. If the grievance letter contains some card details, customer details and all, that data if I'm feeding to my AI, when it gives the response, that also comes out. So I have to put a guardrail stating that if any PII data is coming into my system, mask it. It should not be fed to the system. That is what is guardrail. So what can be allowed for training my system and what can be the output of that system is very important thing which we have to look into.
Okay, very interesting. Diwakar,
If you can just add on to what you said about zero trust, I think this world started 25, 30 years back in cyber around trust but verify. But clearly, a decade later, it moved into this zero trust, which has been pretty popular for the last decade or so. But I think the world we are in right now is, never trust, always verify, right? And why that's happened is, to adding to exactly what you said, is it's no more about individuals now. It's individuals, it's machines, it's APIs, it's identities, and all of these have now become variables. And because they become variables, it's very different to distinguish at speed, at scale, which is which. And hence, as adversaries, as I said it right at the beginning, have been good at embracing newer tech, right? I mean, they used to write manual attacks as well. They used to code manually, but they don't need to do anymore because they've realized that they can amplify using the power of GPTs and whatnot. So similarly, we need to make sure, where the industry is headed is, how do I then at this scale between these 3-4 things, users, devices, identities and APIs, be able to put enough checks and balances, but at speed and at scale, to ensure that we are able to check them at each point, right? And obviously this also comes at the cost of not stopping business, because transformation in IT is about speed, right? You don't want a credit card transaction where you're making one, somebody calling you and saying, hey, but you can't do it. And maybe the AI was wrong, right? And that one experience is the end of the customer with the bank. So it's also about precision. At what points do you bring in? And I don't think, like you rightly said, there is no silver bullet, right? There is no easy answer. But the direction of the solution is in this trajectory. It's the ability to scale at this level.
and AI is able to do these things today.
The simple answer is AI is already doing it in a lot of areas, in a lot of verticals. In some, it's been more mature, it's become more visible, and maybe because of that, slightly more trustworthy. And in some, because it's not been exposed so much, there's a lot of, obviously, challenges around, do we even allow it to do it? So to the point, I think very nicely mentioned about co-piloting versus autopiloting, it depends really on which use cases have matured to a point where we can. I'll just leave it with a small example that we are a company that was born in a very radical format of approaching cybersecurity. We were born when people used databases and past signatures to identify a future attack. But we changed that because we took millions of these past attacks, fed it to a model, and came out with a small engine, which is basically both a static and behavioral engine. I'm oversimplifying this, but that engine knew every attack DNA in the last, it's like it knows our forefathers, it knows our fathers, and it knows me. And now it's also able to predict, it's able to look at a behavior on the fly, and be able to predict if this is adverse, or this is malicious, or this is normal. So this is the power of AI. This couldn't have happened if it didn't use the power of this technology. Right? Because guess what? When we talked about this 13, 12 years back, nobody believed it. But today, everybody understands that this is the only way to keep up with the adversaries.
Fascinating. Satya, you want?
Yeah, so just want to add on the angle of non-human identities. That's a very big issue which we are observing. Like considering nowadays people are building code, yes, but they're using more APIs than earlier. Earlier we used to have programs or application developed already, but now we have more APIs because there are a lot of other third-party libraries, third-party applications available. So there you are having API as one of the identity, and then you have agents now, right? AI agents are coming in, and then AI agents again basically are again a non-human identity, right? So why I am bringing this, and these are helping obviously, yes, this is helping simplifying our release cycles, we can release products faster, we can achieve the customer experience faster, all that on the positive side. On the negative side, the service account, non-human account will not be fired, no, if something happens. Who will be fired if something happens? Who is accountable, right? Who owns that account? How can I change the key? Was the key ever changed for the API or not? What if that person left and then the keys are still stored in that machine? Are we even able to do it? Question here is, this is a question, not an answer, but this is the question which is coming in the minds of all of us or across the industries. How do we handle the non-human accounts, right? And they are actually equally or sometimes more powerful than the human accounts nowadays, right? And then knowing each of the account, how far this is valid. Is it a time-based account or is it going to expire after? Is it not a time-based, then who is going to own it? Something goes wrong. All these are things which are becoming a more important issues now than earlier.
How do you deal with that?
How do we deal with it? I think organizations have their own methods. Like my method, what we are observing here is like we are allocating each of the non-human identities treated as an identity itself, right? So each one have to be mapped to a person or a function, right? If the function, that head of the function is responsible for anything goes wrong with it, right? The question what I said, who will be fired? I think you have a person accountable for anything going wrong with this particular account. And the validation, how we do, like general identities, what Diwakar and Vijay mentioned earlier. Similarly, we need to do the validation for non-human identities, which already started in certain organizations are picking up. But this is something where AI is also helping, identifying, okay, like we just discussed about the transactional behavioral analysis of the agents itself. Is the behavior of agentic AI working the way it's expected to be? Or is it behaving differently? So that's another aspect to figure out. Yeah, that's where the key comes in. Today we are only working on user behavior, means it's individuals inside a threat. But the second factor is agentic AI behaviors, analyzing it, identifying that as a threat is another solution which are coming up. These are all like modern technologies and modern techniques coming up to address this.
Vijay also wanted to talk about that agentic part, no?
Yeah.
That whether you can deploy autonomous ones to kind of deal with some of these.
True. I think the question of autonomous agents dealing with attacks is a very important one, right? And I personally believe that the answer is not a binary one. Like, actually speaking, you can take a graded approach. Now, what do I mean by that? Right? Like, so on one hand, let's say you have small attacks, routine attacks, right? Like that can be completely dealt with autonomous agents, right? Like that doesn't need any human intervention, and that's important from a response time standpoint. Then at the next level, and for example, let's say you see some possible fraudulent activity in a customer account, you do a temporary suspension, right? It's a two-way door decision, right? You can always reverse it. That can be left to agents. You go one level higher, you combine the autonomous activity with one level of human escalation. Say, for example, you see huge bulk payments happening across countries which never happened, right? B2B payments. That can be blocked with a human review, right? So it's a semi-autonomous kind of activity that can happen. And on the last end, you need to have a fully human in the loop activity because the stakes are high, the regulators are involved, right? Let's say cross countries are involved, compliance is involved, etc. That it completely needs a human to review, exercise judgment, discretion, and so on, right? I think it's a spectrum. It's a spectrum really of how you can use autonomous agents to deal with these threats. That's really my thought process on that.
Okay. Diva, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I think up to her earlier point, I guess every organization have different journeys, but they're all related to three buckets in a way, and it sounds very fundamental, but it's people, process, technology, and really there are tools available at each layer of what you want to achieve, but really it brings down to the organizational maturity and capabilities and appetite to kind of lead or to follow based on really their people strategy, their process approach, and of course their tech overall strategy. But just on this part around autonomous, I think today this has almost become a very standard buzzword in the industry. And I remember at least 5-6 years back when we were bringing this into market. A lot of people didn't understand what autonomous meant.
Yeah.
Trust me, back in 2020. And I'm happy to hear people talking about auto agents. But the power of, I think the requirement to solve this problem at scale and speed that we're talking about requires an autonomous platform approach. But to allow that autonomous platform to, thrive depends really on your people process technology maturity. It is like, to oversimplify again at the cost of, it is like you have a car, I don't name the brand, but it can auto drive itself. But can it auto drive itself in roads of Mumbai versus auto drive itself in, say, San Francisco? Depends really on the organizational maturity. So there are, I think, so the layer I think which is important is how much of autonomous, empowerment do you really want to allow to each of these, depending on where you are with that. But clearly coming just from a cyber industry's perspective, I think AI or not, that decision has already gone long back. It is absolutely you have to. The question is how much of that and where and all do you do it, right? And of course, the fundamentals about, protection, detection, response, that's a given. That's table stakes. Where we are, I think, innovating and where we see innovation to be even further enhanced is around the whole remediation piece and resiliency piece, because clearly boards are not asking, hey, will we ever get breached? Everybody assumes that at some point it's a matter of yes, you will. The question is, how resilient are you? What is the blast radius, right? How quickly can you control damage? And that's where things around identity, real-time protection and all other things come into play.
Neeraj,
I just want to add, since we were talking about the one great example which I can give for this automation is like especially with the EDR kind of a solution, where earlier we were looking only on the definitions, and now we are talking about the AI-based and zero trust architecture to find the zero-day attacks, patterns and all those. If it is found, whether we are able to disconnect the system automatically. That is the capability, because the volume of the spread of the endpoints is too huge that there is where we have to leverage these kind of capabilities. And for this, we might need to integrate with multiple solutions also. So this is the actual use case where we are and we are into. And this really helps organizations. Like, if at all there will be false positives, definitely we have to refine on that. That is the role of human when we talk about the AI. But the capability is very high. Okay. And as a cyber warriors, this is what we need.
Okay. Yeah, Neeraj, I mean, same two questions. One on this whole, where do you find AI working the best?
Yeah.
Where would you still need manual people stepping in?
Yeah.
And this question that Diva just raised about
Agentic.
Agentic is okay. That is also there. Plus the resilience part. I mean, attacks are going to happen. So should you, as a CISO, focus on resilience?
Yeah. I'll go step by step. So first is about the AI journeys, right? Everybody is in a different zone at this point of time. And the best way to probably look at an AI journey and to see how comfortable we are and where we want to be, and especially with agentic AIs, I feel that you have your own territories, right? You want to make you can play safe. For example, if you're in a resort and you have the small cars moving into that, you can have autopilots, right? You can allow them to move around because there's no impact. You can't go on the main roads, right? Similarly, internal journeys, right, where you feel that scale, velocity matters, coverage matters, and that's slowing you down. AI absolutely usable with the necessary guardrails in place. That's A. B, are you ready to really go to journeys where you have customer-facing assets or products or customer experiences, regulatory compliances requirements? Can you take auto calls there? Can you give it to AI to take calls? Answer is no at this point in time, right? We still need to mature to that stage for most of the institutions that we see. The second is basically with respect to resiliency, right? Now, most of us, we like 20 years ago, we all have been dealing with antiviruses, protection, identification protection. I think we never really ventured into the situation where we really thought we're going to go down and then we need to find a way to come back, right? And we need to experiment. Most of the times organizations looked at site resiliency, disaster recovery, primary site going down, secondary coming up. I don't think people have really looked at malware-based redundancies. People have not thought what will happen if my data center goes down and how do I come back, right? So here, there is a lot of thought going around with various organizations and, of course, AI-assisted journeys where people are looking at, if I go down today, then what are the critical assets that I need to come back live with? Should I look at the customer-facing journeys to come up first? Do I need to come back with my collection systems, origination systems? What are those systems that I need to come back? How much time do I need to come back? Do I have those, backed up infrastructure, air-gapped infrastructure in place, right? Because we are talking about AI and security, and I think AI to enter into this zone of resiliency and doing a resiliency study of every organization and telling that, you know what, if you want to recover today, you probably have the 7 gaps and you need to find this way of remediating and getting this to closure on an urgency. So I think those areas are still completely, you have an attack and you do not have any communication methodology today. So which AI-assisted journey or tool or technology can help you to get on with it? And you start working on building back and bringing back your assets on live, right? So resiliency itself is a very big area from an AI perspective. I think that is one area where the industry needs to work in general to really have solutioning around that and to templatize it and to give it to organizations, because we are looking at ransomware, AI-assisted ransomware, but we are not looking at AI-ready recovery strategies. Right? Where, you have a ransomware attack, okay, now you press the button and AI is going to help you build back the entire system, get you up and ready, right? So this is a very important gap, I guess, which is probably being worked with some people working on this area. At this point in time.
I think one thing on AI assist journeys, I think it's a great point, Neeraj. In fact, one thing I've realized in BFSI, right? Everything needs explainability, right? Like you use agents, fine. But you better explain every single step. Why did the agent act the way it did? Right? In an environment where control and compliance becomes important, I think explainability of those AI-assisted journeys, how did you remedy it? I think those things become super important.
I think I can give you a live example of this because one of the things that are unique about what we bring to market is this concept called ransomware rollback. Ransomware rollback. Yeah, we got a patent on that one. It's as simple as, usually when a company goes under attack, right, 50 machines get infected because of lateral movement, it spreads to maybe 1,000 machines in a matter of hours. It's spreading in hundreds and thousands, right? When you're able to detect it faster, you're able to pause that infection by spreading. And then what happens? Then you understood, you go into RCA and understand where the 0 days are, from where it came, but also you need to recover back those 1,000 machines. For example, to our earlier point, if you had a sprawl of 5,000 systems across all the offices, how do you manually bring them back? You got to format them, you got to get the last data back and whatnot. And that would typically take weeks, if not months, in the earlier days. Today, because of ransomware rollback, at a click of a button, you're able to roll back that ransomware, bring the machine back to its original state, which is the last known state before the actual ransomware attack, and get the operation going. This is an example of business resiliency.
Yeah, and to add to that, while you have the technology solution in place, it's very important for you to really do that cyber crisis plan and run into an environment, really simulate and see, does this really work? Because there's a human element every time, right? You have 10,000 systems to recover, but are you going to recover 10,000 systems? And are you going to recover the customer-facing assets first? How are you going to interact with the regulator? How are you going to interact with the corporate communications team? What decisions are going to be taken? How many hours do we have? How much loss are we facing every minute? Do we have cyber insurance in place? There are a lot of nuts and bolts around this hugely complex thing that we want to talk about, right? Because I've seen many institutions going through this, a lot of case studies, right? And absolutely, there are tools and technologies today and absolutely complement the folks who are really bringing this in.
But actually roll it back.
You can, but then it requires a lot of practice. It requires a lot of simulation to really go there because it's not just one system. For a complex organization today, the data centers could run into multiple landing zones, data centers, physical data centers, offices which could be physically different, multiple thousands of offices across. And hence, while the products, of course, then we need the products because you can't really do it manually, unlike the previous days. But it requires a lot of assistance and a lot of strategy and a lot of testing and simulation before you really get there. So that's how it is, yeah.
So, we make at least I here can tell you, we make a living out of protecting customers out of breaches, right? And at least there's never a single right now it's maybe a month, but at least a year back, a single weekend where we haven't had somebody from an organization contacting us saying, hey, you know what, we've been ransomware, can you help us? Right? So it's almost become like most of the organizations, but absolutely right in terms of when we have these kind of tech solutions, but do you also have the mindset where you have done tabletop exercises, where you have done these simulations? Have you taken it all the way to the board? Because sometimes, to his point, you have to take decisions that machine can take it very easily, but that's not the decision you want to allow it to take, right? Which also means policies. What do you roll back first? How do you roll back? How do you communicate? So, which is why I kind of go back to the earlier statement that tech today has, I think, matured to help you provide a lot of these autonomous plays as possible based on the use cases. In cyber, I think there's been far more maturity. But the question really is, what about the people and the process to catch up with that maturity? Because it is organization-wide, right? It's not impacting 1 or 10 machines. It's impacting organizations as well. And I think that is where more maturity we see is coming in. And that is where I also feel boards are today getting involved in terms of understanding from their CIOs, their CDOs, and the CTOs, and of course from their CISOs, that are we ready? How long do we take? And how much of empowerment has been given in our organization?
Is this something that can be used even after an attack has happened and you don't have to pay the ransomware guys? No, you still might have to, is it?
I don't know. It's a very simple, tricky question.
Okay.
That's we're, I think, entering into a very different world. So let's leave it at that. How we respond to ransomware really depends on your organization's mantra and culture and how prepared you are. Paying ransomware, I think, is a very different, completely different context and conversation.
Okay.
But I just want to add one point. Sorry, Babitha, I'll just add one because that's a very important question and many organizations struggle there. You don't know what to do. Like when you have a situation. So you better think of what you're going to do and have some policy around it. So that in case you get into a situation, you know what to do, right? Rather than telling whether you do this, you do that. But I think it is required that you do a simulation, you come across a situation, and then okay, I have 10 questions, I don't have an answer. What do we do? Of course, you create a policy around it, you create an SOP around it, you create a standard around it, and you know what to do, when to do, and who's going to do what, right? That basically simplifies this whole execution thing. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of questions in the questionnaire and then you don't have an answer.
So that is why we always talk about the cyber crisis plan, where even we talk about who should talk to the media. How it should be responded to stakeholders. Up to that level, organizations should be prepared enough when it comes to a crisis. Okay, coming back to the ransomware, since we have touched up and everyone is more interested with the ransomware kind of a thing, because that made cyber attacks more famous and made the job of CISOs more easy in the board. Okay, so I am thankful to ransomware for that. Okay, coming back to the problem is like the spread or the endpoints which organization like BFSI holds. The going with detect is really a challenging job for us because by the time the spread will be very high. So here is where we have to act very efficiently, and for that AI-based EDR solutions are the one who is supporting for this kind of things, where based on the pattern, encryption pattern, it should be contained and prevented then and there itself. And what I have told earlier, it should kind of disconnect the system from the network so that the spread is contained immediately. So the actionable has come down. Okay, that is the first kind of thing which we have to work now. It is a high time for us to think into that, and everyone is now started working in that time, and the solutions are capable for that also. Then the second line is like, okay, now we are for the drill also, it is automized now. When we are doing a cyber means like DR drill activity, like moving from DC to DR to function that, whether it is working from the other side and all those things, now it is fully automated. Systems can do it by itself. There's manual interventions has come down. It's not like fully automated. Anyway, manual interventions will be always there, but to a certain level, it has already been automized. Robotic automation is now a part of everything. It is done, but here the challenge is this can be done during the attack surface also, whether we have a clean backup. How we will know that the backup which I have taken just 1 week back is not infected. Even if I am taking back this, automizing that, we are not sure. Again, this infection can come. So to ensure that I am having a clean backup, There also I should have some technology, AI kind of a pattern recognition, what are the logs which has been captured last, and any deviation is there for the last 6 months, I have to inspect the logs, all those things a human cannot do. And there are solutions which say that it is immutable backups are there, clean backups are there. We have to ensure that organization is having that. Then only that what we say that complete automation, if something goes wrong, whether I can take a call, okay, I am going to reverse everything. Here again comes the question of paying the ransom. I should know what my system is capable of. Then only the management will be in a position to say that whether we have to pay the ransom or we are in a position to come back. So up to that level, preparatory should be made by each and every organization and should know where we stand now.
Policy and preparation, absolutely important.
So when it comes to cyber attack, the main challenge is we don't have time. We don't have time, and we have to come back as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Just on a slightly lighter note there, I know ransomware made CISO's job easier, but it also took away Diwakar's weekends.
No, it is. I didn't mean that CISO's job easier. I told
You got
that
more
this
prominence in
discussions
the-
has come in the board level also,
board started to
and
take it more
started
seriously.
looking into the cybersecurity aspect. From that point only, I am talking
Absolutely.
about.
I just want to add to
Media
this.
has made it helped us for that.
So while we discuss about ransomware, I just want to take 30 seconds and probably, invoke some thoughts here. One is that ransomware is going to happen, right? But how does it happen? Because you have a vulnerability and that can get exploited. So now, how does AI come in, and what are the two sides of the coin from a vulnerability management perspective, right? So you have tons of vulnerabilities in the environment, okay? Unlike the previous time, when the protectors had visibility on the vulnerabilities, and then they had to depend on manual tools to prioritize and to fix, because you can't fix everything together. So today you have AI to help you assist and prioritize that. So very important use case, right?
It prioritizes.
To
It cannot
prioritize.
just plug all the loops.
We can, but then again, we decided, right? Guardrails. Do you want to go there eventually? Yes, of course, but that's a stepping stone. You don't want to start there. First is for you to really cut down the noise. You don't want to deal with manual Excel sheets and identify what is a highest CV rating and this, that. So that is assistance, using which you can probably get to the crown jewels and understand what is the most critical, exploitable one, which requires immediate attention, and I need to work on those. That is AI on the protector side. But the scene has changed completely now. Why? Because just imagine a hacker getting into an environment and he's able to move laterally. Unlike the previous time where he would also try to accumulate data and to inventorize and to understand what is the weakest link and which I need to attack. He has information and pace and velocity at which he can actually do that quickly, and then he can go after it. So you do not have that much time, unlike the previous times. So it's like, see, the AI with both these sides, right? Attacker using to his advantage and the protector using to his advantage. The only difference here is who uses it first to his advantage. Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah, Satya.
On a
we
funnier
need
note,
to
I
wrap
would
up this
like
part
to
of the
add,
discussion.
yeah.
One last word to Satya.
Sorry, I think this is getting excited and nobody can stop when ransomware is coming in picture. So like the other mafia, ransomware is a mafia. It's called as ransomware as a service available, and we are all using it for our own advantages. I think Babitha is saying, okay, tell the story, right? We don't don't let go of any incident easy, right? We still speak about CrowdStrike, we still speak about Target incident. Sorry to say, name the few. I'm speaking about incidents for advantage. Similarly, ransomware is used. I just want to talk about one aspect apart from the preparation using the crisis response plan is the prediction. Right? Preparation and prediction, right? So one more advantage with AI is like not just continuous monitoring, which is something we are all doing. Second part is prediction. How can we predict the behavior of certain things in the way it goes, right? And identify the predictive ways of which the attacks might come based on the attacks that are happening in the industry. Is something is yet to come. That's what I want to watch. I'm watching for, okay, these are the attacks happened this year. Okay, these are the type of attacks I'm predicting to happen in future. Right? understanding the brain of what the attackers might be thinking is something we are not able to do. Today, what we are doing is
We can get there at some point, you think?
some place. That's what I'm thinking in the long run. But the immediate fix, what we are trying to do is how can we be prepared? Like the way we were doing BCP DRP, we are doing CRP, which is Crisis Response Plan. That's common across. But how about prediction? How do we identify them early enough so that we are prepared much in advance? I think that's the place I wish to go.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I wanted to shift the discussion a little bit to something else. AI innovations across enterprises, I can see it in our own organization as well. People are beginning to use these tools almost kind of independently without the organization even realizing they are. Some of them even have taken subscriptions to ChatGPT and all of that. Some of these things have become affordable. And good things, sometimes very good. They can actually create solutions which may actually benefit the bank or the financial services business and all of that. But then it also carries risks. CISOs, I'm told, are typically not happy at all that people are doing these independent things, and they would like to know, be aware of the whole, what all each one is doing. How do you tackle something like that? Are there ways in which you can have visibility into all that employees are doing and put guardrails? Does that slow down your whole processes? Is that a worry? Babitha?
Yeah, the thing is like whichever solutions or whatever be, the basics of cybersecurity is visibility. Okay. Whether we know who is using what. In the case of, we have chat GPTs, Gen AIs, these are embedded in many of the websites now. And people might be, we'll be using proxies to limit the access. That and all will be done. But within that provided access itself, there might be Gen AIs or anything which will be used by the platforms for many other purposes. And our people might be uploading many things, that, for example, a chat within the website. Okay, if I am giving an access which is for business purpose, and if someone want to upload some files into that chat which contains the PII data, actually the existing solutions may not be in a position to identify, because it is a normal DLP may not be in a position to identify that there's a PII data because it is in a different platform. Okay, what I can understand is what is in my platform. So there we have to think up to that level, and there are solutions which sits in the browser level and monitor the traffics also, traffic level monitoring, which gives the visibility of what kind of AIs is being used within the organization, what are the models which is being used. We have to get a dictionary of that, and based on that we have to put our guardrails, like what should be allowed and what should not be allowed. And then again, PI is what is of more important, because DPDP Act also is in place now, which is we need to be very critical thinking about that. So we have to set rules stating that any data which is PI should be masked or should not be going out of the organization, or any file upload should not be. We can make the rules stringent based on the policies what we want.
You can do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yes,
I just want to add on. AI, I think, there are three things here. One is shadow AI usage, which is like organization listed down. These are the three things, or three ChatGPT type of tools, like Cloud for development and the ChatGPT for general use, like that. We might have that certain implementations or subscriptions by the enterprise that could be used. That's one part. But what about the other 10,000 plus AI apps available? I'm not just speaking about the Chinese AI alone, but there are many AI agents used. How can we restrict that? Right, that's one big deal. I think there are solutions maybe people can answer. A second aspect is about what can be copied, what cannot be copied. I mean, earlier, see, the simple solution we used to have, the data leakage prevention solution, is all about what data is leaking through as a file, as a document, then we can check the document. Today, it's going all the way into copying the data just from one browser to another browser. So even that level we need to monitor to see whether whatever is copy pasted, does it contain a personal information or a sensitive information, and block it and not allow it to be passed through the other side, whatever it is. It could
solutions are there to do
solutions
all this.
are there already. Yes, there are a good number of solutions which are available today. And there are other aspects of, that's one area. Second area is also about getting the data from out to in, right? So there is, with the AI concern, there you will get a good number of suggestions coming from ChatGPT or Gemini or others, right? So people simply use it and put it in the system. Is that a right thing? I think that's another area to think. Okay, what is the right way to use the AI? That's another, I think, initial policy mentioned, right? We need to have a policy which says how to use AI in the right way, right? Those are the things which are important in organizations. As I think Diwakar earlier mentioned, different organizations, different maturity levels. So different organizations have policies, some companies have guidelines, etc., through which we are following. Can it be automated completely with the tools? I think that is the path we are all going with.
Okay, yeah, Deva.
So in short, succinct, the good news is the solutions to really securely embrace AI exist today. So we as an organization help our customers that I talk to, because this today is, in my opinion, when we talk so much about ransomware the last 30, 40 minutes, to me, ransomware is yesterday's problem. Because the solutions that we have, understand threat actors, we work proactively to kind of really track them down and then their behavior pattern and whatnot. But the problem that we are solving, and the problem that we really hear a lot from CIOs and CISO community today is, hey, I know there is shadow AI, what can I do to react? And this is something like, if you remember the organization we worked for in 90s, one answer was to block internet, and only few people got it. It was almost like a privilege. Today, AI as well is sometimes has become like a privilege. And I think organizations like ourselves are ensuring that you don't have to block AI access to anybody. We will just have to make sure that that AI access, both in and out, is filtered to a point that is up to the policy of the organization, right? And PII is just one of it. There are multiple aspects of it where we redact. So as a simple example is, if you had a user in any department of your organization and he's using not just this public LLMs, but also GitHub and for coding and whatnot, but also internal LLMs, we can let him do his queries, get him answers back. Whenever there is something that shouldn't be mentioned, we redact it without his experience being obscured. Because remember, one of the biggest challenges we haven't spoken about is the people part of this. The tech is already available, tick mark. The people part is organizations hiring the 20-year-olds. If you tell them, I'm not going to give you internet access or chat GPT to do your work, they'll be like, I'm out of here.
So how do you stop it? If somebody an individual has a personal chat GPT subscription, let's say, and he puts in some official stuff into it to figure out some analytics or whatever, how do you stop that? You can actually stop it.
It's simple, right? Assuming you had that same access in your company authorized laptop or computer, and you're entering in, say, hey,
it has to be company authorized.
Absolutely. If you're doing it on your own personal laptop, this is outside discussion scope, right? But if it's within the computer authorized, and which is where the challenge is if I say, help me write this email to my customer because the revenue has gone from X to Y, we don't want to share the revenue, we don't want to share the customer's name, but maybe want to understand how to write that email better. That's redacting. So we basically take out the elements that should not be there, but at the same time, don't stop them from using LLMs to a point that is making them less productive. And I think secure AI and how to securely embrace AI is the charter, in my opinion, for this year, right? Is organizations, to her point, have different levels of maturity. Some policies are open, some policies are restricted, but eventually by end of this year, we'll get to a secure AI embracing for most organizations.
Vijay,
if I were to give a quick real life analogy to that, right? Blocking AI access in today's world is like saying, I will not have fire alarms because they sometimes go off incorrectly. It's like that. So I think that's not there. So I think we need to evolve, right? And I think we need to put the right set of guardrails, which I think Diwakar touched upon. Yeah.
Neeraj, you want to add to this?
Yeah, actually. So absolutely. There's no organization today where you do not want to give AI. But yes, guardrailed, tenant-based, you are allowing people to move around and do stuff that they want to. But does it move the responsibility to AI? Answer is no, right? At the end of the day, it's again an assistant model. You can use it for your own benefit, to get your advisory, to get your assistance and run your own things. But it doesn't take over that overall final judgment thing. It's still the onus and responsibility to the individual who is using it for the specific use case. Yeah.
Great. I just have one last question before I get some closing comments from all of you. It's a very regulated business, the banking, and Babitha has been part of the RBI, which has been has to regulate the banking sector. Can a financial institution truly become AI native in the context of the extent of compliance requirements, etc., the regulation that is there in the industry? Can you get to a point where, or will it take a long time to get to be a really AI native kind of enterprise bank?
See, we are in a era where we are in AI, okay, and we should be in AI. Unless and until we cannot defeat the attacks which is coming, which is AI powered. So there's no question for asking whether we have to go for AI or not. Definitely we have to, but we should know what for we are using AI, how it will perform, and what as like it should be used in a known way. Like guardrails is nothing, like I should know what is happening. That is the main idea behind everything. So AI should be there, user behavior analysis, pattern recognition, correlation, everything needs AI. With the volume of data we are dealing every day, it is really very much required, and for containment also it is very much required. But we should know that how it works, what will be the output. So we should be having the entire visibility of the entire AI process, and how it has been trained. Like even if I am using an AI solution, if it is communicating with the cloud, I should know that what for it is. Whether my data is going out or I am just taking the feeds from the external environment to build more maturity into my system. So all these things, that's the complete visibility of what I am doing or what purpose I am using this should be known. That is the main takeaway.
Okay. Yes.
Just to add on there, right? So the first time AI being used was in finance. I think we should all remember the business analytics, financial analytics, fraudulent detection. AI has been there in banking systems for a long time. I don't think it's a new for banking. I think what we are speaking right now is Gen AI, right? Are we using Gen AI in an appropriate way? Are we going to take Gen AI for helping our banking systems go better? Can we allow our employees to use Gen AI? Those are the questions we are discussing here, if I understand correctly. But AI in general is most used in banking systems, whether it is trading or getting you the right kind of investments when you are putting money in. Is it like $0.1 extra you are getting or not? All the predictions of market going down, up, all are handled by very highly advanced AI, which has been there for a long, and it's been advanced and advancing to a large extent, right? So second part, when it comes to the AI use cases today, whatever we are discussing, whether it is cybersecurity use cases, all are being tested first with BFSI. I think all the product vendors can agree, because that is where the money is, that is where the trust is more important, and that's where the use cases are being tested. So the question what you asked, whether the BFSI will ever be native to AI, yes, it was AI for a long time. That's where I stay with.
So
Just
yours
one
is
thing
the
on-
most important vertical for AWS, is it?
So just one thing in terms of why BFSI, right? Like kind of took this from an AI lead standpoint. See, if you think about it, BFSI always had this graded approach to risk. Right. Small amounts, let it go through. Bigger amounts come for approval. That thought process and approach, right, is replicable when it comes to security and when you're dealing with AI, right? Like, just wanted to present that as an example where you can kind of understand why things kind of took up more shape in BFSI. And of course, there's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of money to be made, and there is a lot of money at stake, right? Like, so that naturally raises the whole bar in terms of what you need to do.
Okay. Neeraj, compliance, does it create hurdles for you?
No. So I think the AI adoption, or can we live without it? Answers no. Second, to his question, or to the way the banks have been working traditionally, and what has been the perennial issue, right, all the time. One is that with respect to AI, if you are part of the design, and if you start it initially rather than as an afterthought and subsequently plugging it without traceability, without logging, without the visibility in terms of how those decisions have been taken, it's always going to be a question mark. Because you are dealing with customer money, you're dealing with regulator, you want to show the backtrace, right? You want to be very clear that. So if the technology has that capability, then yes. If it doesn't have, then we'll have to build that and to get there, right? Does the regulator, I think the regulator and Ministry of Home Affairs, MIT, I think they all have been pretty supportive for all AI adoption across industry and across banks and all. So I think we all have to, as a country, I think we need to look at it a very positive way, and we have to be at the forefront of this whole AI revolution, rather, otherwise we'll be left behind. And there's no second thought around that, right? But yes, you need to take those right in a chronological way, in the guarded way, so that you do not have to stop later, rather than, you go at the right pace with the right controls in place, instead of going there and completely stopping and halting and just rolling back, right? So that's the
Reserve
way.
Bank is quite progressive on this.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think every institution, even Reserve Bank for today, is using AI in some or the other way. And so all the government agencies, right? And I think we are blessed to have a very strong regulator and a very educated and a very supportive regulator who always comes in and provides the necessary guidance and assurance in terms of all this advisory. They have come with a lot of advisory frameworks for AI, which banks and industries have started adopting, and regulated use of AI. How? So from a guidance perspective, there is enough, right? Now it's all about the OEMs and the organizations which are into the building of AI to start adopting those and building those into the product, so that there's no pushback when it comes to adoption, and they enter the whole stream in a very structured manner, and then we go through this journey in a very smooth way. Right?
Okay, so good to hear that. Great. So fine. Some final comments from all of you. You all listen to each other. You already have some insights that you yourself have. Give us an idea for other financial institutions who are listening to all of this. Your message to them. The threats are huge, but there are solutions too. Diva, you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, clearly banking and FSI as an industry and vertical have been embracing technology, right, in a very mature way for almost a couple of decades now, to her point and his point as well. So regulators are actually helping in really streamlining how the technology is adopted. Even for us as a company in India, we have almost 30 to 40% of our, customers who are currently in the BFSI sector. And they have understood the power of AI. They've understood the power of an autonomous platform to help manage the huge sprawl, the timelines. So I know this is a working model. And in terms of messaging, I think it's very clear, right? We are, to his point, as a nation, we have to look at AI in complete positivity in terms of what are the great and good things that we can today embrace, but in a guarded manner. And yes, there is technology that is also available today, right? Not just with us, but with a lot of other large organizations and everybody else. But the question really is the maturity of the process and the people. And that is where I always look for leadership, and this sessions help, because potential leaders, right, will have to understand the gravity of not going with this AI journey, right? And that is where I think these sessions help. So kudos to also a lot of our own banking and FSI leaders, CISOs in India, because the tough job that they do, I'm telling you, Sujit, it is the toughest for a CISO to be in a banking vertical. Exactly. Toughest place for them to be. I can
understand.
Because they have to convince the regulators, they have to answer to business, and they have no time to really go back and do their homework, which basically means they are living by the clock. And kudos to them, because I believe they've done a phenomenal job in really shaping this industry. And globally, Indian banking industry and technology adoption has been applauded as one of the finest and most mature.
Very good to hear that. Yeah, Babitha.
Yeah, since he has touched upon the CISOs of India, it first goes to regulator itself, because with the cybersecurity framework, which has been introduced in 2016, which has really helped the banks to mature in the cybersecurity area. And we are much ahead than much other countries that we should be proud of. Then coming to AI part, organizations should have a proper policy which say that where I can go for it and where I cannot use it. So that should be defined by the organization, because when we talk about AI capabilities and all, it has a compute in it, and for that many a times we have to even opt for cloud solution where this kind of computation is required. So what can be used, up to what level, what data can be used for training, if it is for a ML activity that need to be done. So all these things clearly defined by the organization. And as Neeraj has mentioned, we have to have A to Z visibility, logging and all those things, what is happening at any point of time. We should be aware of what it is happening. And the guardrails, like guardrails will definitely be the part of the visibility part, because once we see what is happening, then based on that we can definitely put the guardrails into. So these are the three areas we have to work for.
Yeah, I think if just taking a step back from a beautiful conversation that I think thanks to all of we've had. I think one is you're talking about enterprises and attackers, right? Let machines fight machines, right? That's one thing. But it's very important that you escalate to humans when it comes to ethics, when it comes to judgment, and very importantly, accountability. At the end of the day, the human is accountable, right? Like, because these are decisions impacting people's lives. So the human is accountable, right? Now, does this mean that if the attacker is AI native, should we panic? Absolutely not, right? I think the time to evolve is now, right? Because AI maturity takes time. It takes time to build, it takes time to seep in from a culture standpoint and so on. So the time to build and mature is now, and that's really what I would like to say.
Time to build and mature is now. Yeah, Satya.
So I just can actually saying with what Vijay said just now, the responsible AI is very important. Responsible and ethical AI. How are we using AI ethically? How we are using it responsibly for the purpose it is designed for, and we are using it for the requirement it is designed for. I think this is a time where I think we used to have, or we still preach the principle saying, build the security as a design, privacy as a design. Now, when we are building AI, right, that need to be designed for safety first, explainability first, responsibility first, ethically first. And there are many principles like this which comes in apart from security itself. I think those are the things which are very important when we are using AI, whether it is for security or otherwise. I think that is when our organizations will actually grow faster and better and also stronger.
Have to use AI, but use it responsibly. Yeah, Neeraj?
Yeah, so we had talked about AI and security, but then if we as a nation, not just cybersecurity, we as a nation, or even any industry, if you want to really get there and get AI to the top, right, what is it that we need to do? How do we pace up this journey? I think AI in deployment of AI could be very useful. Because I think at the end of the day, we have products, technologies, but then, the professional services, the knowledge base is pretty limited at this point in time. For you to deploy an EDR may take weeks and months. And if you have AI-assisted deployment, it could be pretty quick, right? So I think now the second focus would be to, now you have the technologies, and how do I get it working? And how do I help my customers to get there quickly? And how do I make him get the maximum value of this deployment very quickly? If the focus there is there, and also coupled with the reverse brain drain, right? We know about the geopolitical stuff that is happening around, and we have a lot of things happening, and key folks might come back, and there could be a community which could migrate back. We are poised to become really strong, right? But coupled with this, right, you have the deployment capabilities built in, AI-assisted deployment capabilities. You have very rich manpower and brains available, and then we have an awesome story to really take our country to the next level. I think that's the way to look at it.
We have an awesome story, but you need maturity of process and people. Absolute great discussion. About even 10 years ago, when a cybersecurity vendor or somebody would come to us to sell a story, I wouldn't take them very seriously. I wouldn't hear any great crisis stories from our readers having suffered. But last 5 years, I think COVID or whatever has changed it completely. The only stories that our crime reporters write now are cybersecurity stories. People losing money, that kind of stuff. No longer are those murders and all that. Much more than that, it's the cybersecurity problems that. So great discussion. I think this has really become I keep saying, some 3 words that I hear all the time in this kind of discussion. Of course, AI is always there. GCC is the other word I keep hearing. And then cybersecurity. I mean, the three big words now. Thank you all so much for a great
Thank you.
discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you to
It's a
you.
wonderful discussion.
Thanks,
Thank
Sujit,
you for
for
great
coordinating
moderation.
it so well and for moderating it so beautifully. Thank you to you.